Hi there. Thanks for joining me for the new moon on May 16th at about 1:01 in the afternoon. That's Pacific, California Standard Time. But this is a really beautiful, potent new moon because it's the first new moon in the new lunar year. And it's beautiful that it's in Taurus, in an earth sign. And if you look at the chart here, you'll see that we've got the sun and the moon there up at the top at 4 degrees of Taurus. And then we have Mercury at 7 degrees and Uranus at 9 degrees of Taurus. So I think there's a very strong Uranian flavor to this new moon, even though it's very earthy and very grounded, because all of these planets being in Taurus in an earth sign. So if you have any placements in Taurus in your natal chart, it would be interesting to see which house Taurus occupies for you. And you can do that by going down below in the description and clicking on the link for the free chart calculator if you don't have your chart. And you can see which house this new year, this new beginning is happening for you. So if we look here at the chart, we can see that it's basically a stellium in Taurus. And it's beautiful. The sun came into Taurus around the 12th of May. So we're moving into a very earthy, sensual, grounded energy now, coming out of Aries. And Aries is great because it gets things started, it gets your energy moving, and you may have found that you've had more energy over the last 2 or 3 weeks with the sun there in Aries. But now as it moves into Taurus, it becomes more about grounding and slowing down and smelling the roses and enjoying. It's a very earth-centered energy that wants to sort of go deep into what it's experiencing. And that's why it's considered to be a very sensual and relaxed energy, Taurus. It likes to take its time. It's ruled by Venus, so it has a lot to do with what we love, enjoying life. And I mean, what's more important than enjoying life? I can't really think of anything. So whatever that is for you, bringing more enjoyment. This is a new cycle of enjoyment coming in. And with Mercury and Uranus there may be some very interesting and unusual and spontaneous movement, travel, also spontaneous ideas, insights, especially in the inner world. Just suddenly understanding something, suddenly knowing something. And this is really beautiful, is because whatever's happening at the beginning of the lunar month, and especially at this one at the beginning of the lunar year, kind of sets the tone for the energies that are coming in after this. So this is a very inspiring yet relaxing and enjoyable new moon energy that's coming in. And over there on the right, we have Mars at 38 degrees of Pisces conjunct Chiron, the planet of the wounded healer, at 38 degrees of Pisces. So this is very interesting to me. It's like, Mars is our assertive energy, our action energy, what we naturally feel moved to put our energy into. And in Pisces, it's a very internal expression of Mars. You may be feeling drawn to being near water or being by the ocean, but with Mars next to Chiron like this, it's sort of initiating a new healing cycle that is bringing in a more results to whatever healing process you've already been in. Kind of bringing in more of a higher energy experience of your healing process. And it may also be bringing your awareness to ways in which your assertive, outgoing energy is undergoing a transformation. With Mars here next to Chiron, Mars is also receiving this healing energy. And, he's not so comfortable in Pisces. Mars is a fire sign. He likes fiery energy. But in Pisces, he's able to get in touch with using that fire for a more soul connection to life, for a more on the inner journey, to use that fire to bring more harmony to the inner experience. So I feel like that's a very beautiful signature of this new moon, this new lunar year. And we have Venus there at the end of Taurus, getting ready to go into Gemini. She's going to go into Gemini actually within a day or so of this, after this new moon. And Venus is very comfortable in Taurus. She's had a long time here transiting through Taurus, just bringing in some very heart-centered energy into our lives, reconnecting us with what's really important to us, and maybe also increasing our awareness of what we really value now in our lives, and also bringing more energy to loving and valuing ourselves for who we are. And in Taurus, this would have a lot to do with our bodies. So this new moon also is initiating a new cycle in the relationship we have to our bodies, and putting more attention, more energy, more focus on our physical experience. And with Uranus there, coming up with new ways to address challenges we may be having with our bodies. And also Mercury being able to have an inner dialogue, and maybe also having someone we can communicate with about what's happening with our bodies. That brings a lot of good fortune and a lot of blessings into our experience. The other thing with Taurus is it has to do with our possessions, what we own. And the challenge to Taurus is not to be possessed by what we possess. To still maintain our freedom, to not become identified and attached, overly attached to what we possess, but to just be grateful for everything that's present in our lives, and to enjoy what's present in our lives, what we own, what we possess, but not to allow it to become a source of stress or tension. To just remember that when you can stay relaxed with that, when you can stay in the middle and just know that when it comes to the outer world, everything is in constant change. Things are coming in and things are going out. But if you can stay grateful for everything that's present, then the next moment comes out of that. So it's a very powerful place to be, especially with a new moon energy, because we're setting our intentions energetically in this moment of this new moon. And it's a great time to write down your intentions, write down what you're grateful for. With Uranus and Mercury there, a powerful time for any kind of writing or communication with others around these things. So as Venus moves towards Gemini, we're going to get more of I would say, the opportunity to learn and to see where we're blocked in terms of learning. She's going to bring our awareness to what we're ready to learn. And to me, learning is an ongoing, lifelong journey. And with Gemini, it usually has a lot to do with our communication skills and refining those communication skills with Venus moving in. We may find that we're really enjoying communicating or expressing through music, through writing, through art, through anything that gives you joy, that brings enjoyment, through gardening, through going out and socializing, participating in social events. Gemini's about our local environment, local trade and business. And it's a very light, social, communicative sort of energy that can be enjoyable, spontaneous. And, the shadow side to Gemini is to get stuck in the mind, get stuck in the thought process. But I feel with Venus entering in there, it's more about actually enjoying whatever's arising in the mind, finding a way to enjoy it and not allowing it to become polarized where we're fighting with the mind, fighting against the mind, but finding ways to relax with the mind and to learn how to work with the mind, how to disidentify from the mind. Gemini is a great opportunity to expand our consciousness with Jupiter there at 23 degrees. And later in the month, maybe even towards the beginning of June, Venus will conjunct Jupiter. And this will bring a lot of blessings into our life through learning, through being open to what we don't know, and being vulnerable and trusting in life. A lot of blessings can come in moving forward from this new moon as we approach the beginning of June, probably around the full moon, actually, in June. So all in all, a very beautiful and powerful new moon and new lunar year, the beginning of the new lunar year. We still have Saturn over there in Pisces and Neptune in Pisces, still doing their dance. They're separating now as Saturn's moving ahead. And we're still working with self-mastery and especially spiritual discipline, I would say, and also spiritual awakening in different areas of our experience. With Neptune there, it has a lot to do with trust and compassion and feeling connected to life through trust and compassion, and finding a way to face whatever's arising that's uncomfortable or challenging with trust and compassion for ourselves, for others, for the world. And with Saturn there, we're learning how to master discipline, and discipline that is centered on what we know to be true for ourselves, not discipline that comes from outside, but discipline that comes from our own knowing of who we are and what we need, and being committed to our own well-being and our own path. So those energies are going to be supporting us for quite a while. Neptune will be there for many years. Saturn will be there for about another year and a half. So it's a very powerful influence over every lunar cycle. But the sun being here in Taurus to me is a great time for getting involved in anything that's physical. Planting, exercising, hiking, exploring, getting massage, anything that brings you into a more relaxed, enjoyable experience of being alive, of being in your body. And with the South Node still in Leo and the North Node in Aquarius, we're still freeing ourselves from past experiences around our hearts, maybe wounds from the past that we've been carrying in our hearts that are no longer needing to be carried. We may find we're able to really experience a discontinuity with the past with this new moon, and to look ahead and to open ourselves up to the new, because the new moon is all about new energy coming in and being open to receive it. And Taurus is a very receptive sign ruled by Venus, and it has also a lot to do with our relationships, and that's the polarity point of Taurus would be Scorpio and Ophiuchus. So there's a very mystical, powerful depth to this energy that's underneath the enjoyment and the sensuality. There's an ability here, an opportunity here to connect with the mystery of life and to go deeper into our feelings and into what we don't know, and to open ourselves up to receive all the blessings that this new moon has to offer us. So thank you for joining me. I'm wishing you a really beautiful, magical new moon and beginning of the new lunar year. And if you have any questions or comments, you can leave them down below in the description. But all in all, I feel very ready for this new year. I feel like the last 3 or 4 months with all this intense Pisces energy there's been a lot of completions that we've been experiencing. And for me anyway, completions can be very intense. And there's also been a lot of energy around resting and recharging and kind of a nebulous experience to reality. This is just my experience. You can tell me what your experience has been. But this new moon, this beginning of this lunar year, to me is really the beginning of the new year. And it's the completion of all this very deep work that we've been doing over the last 3 or 4 months, especially those of us who are on the spiritual path, the inner journey, and on the path of transformation and becoming more of who we are. I feel this is a very powerful new beginning that we can really open and embrace at this time. So that's it for now. I will be back with the full moon report sometime in the beginning of June, but sending lots of good energy, lots of love in your direction to whoever's listening to this right now.